I think we are live. I hope so. I hope we're live. Ow! Let's see. Let's see who's in here. Let's give it a second. There we go. Right, we got a couple of the peeps already in. Trina's in, Aaron is in. I see now that I streamed at exactly 5. That is not smart. I think if you do round hour numbers, usually less people get a notification as well. Uh-oh. And then, what's up, guys? What's up? So, interesting last couple of days. Today, been kind of one of the quieter ones, mostly with regards to XRP's moves. I mean, throughout the night, it has recovered quite nicely. I think that's a pretty big deal. You know, my honest truth to it. But a lot of people could look at it and think, hey, where's the massive pump? Where's the massive move? Where's the and we didn't really see it yet, right? But there's some interesting things that are happening right now, specifically with regards to Ethereum. Somebody in the chat just asked what's going on with Ethereum. We have some interesting thoughts to discuss about that. It's going to be rather interesting. So let's quickly give it a little second. If you guys are in here, make sure you quickly go ahead and press that like button. And like I said, I think less people get a notification if it's exactly on the hour. Let's try to get that up there, everybody. If you're in the chat right now, make sure you quickly put in which city or which country you're watching from, like we always do at the start of the stream. And of course, make sure you press that like button. All right. So let's quickly dive into my first point right here. All right, I think this is one of the most interesting points. What is happening right now when it comes to the crypto market is an immense boom when it comes to these treasury companies. For all of you that do not know, if we're talking about the biggest trend in crypto of 2025, it's something that a lot of the retail, they don't really notice. And what it is the treasury boom is what I could call it. It's where these companies, they try to raise money, either through equity, debt, or they make a new plan with their reserves to put it into a certain crypto. But there's a little loophole there where a lot of these companies, they're basically raising money purely to buy cryptocurrencies. That's their thing. They're becoming a company that holds a certain crypto. And the thing is, a lot of those companies, they at some point trade under the amount of crypto that they've got or that they are planning to buy. And the idea then is, for example, you can maybe buy that the company's stock, so to speak, at let's say 0.9 to what it is actually worth. And then later on, you basically convert it back to the original crypto. There's a lot of things there that are possibilities that are happening. But basically, Michael Saylor is the most known person to do something of the sort. All right? If you do not know, they have a freaking huge company called Strategy. Used to be called MicroStrategy, and their main purpose is just buying more and more Bitcoin. Now, Ponzi, a friend of mine, had an interesting comment here about that. Let's take a little bit of a look. He said, Michael Saylor will make SBF, Sam Bankman-Fried, and Alameda, this is all with the FTX situation, their use of leverage look like child's play. Men has brought a new meaning to looping, and looping is basically where, the easiest way I think I can describe loop, oh shit, I'm stuck. Oh, damn. We're stuck for real. Let me reset the camera then. Normally it's just I click it again. Anyway, so looping, the simplest way I can describe that is that you have money, right? And with the gains of that, you try to raise more money. And with that raised money that's now doing okay, you try to raise more. You try to use whatever gains you've made, whatever you've been able to raise more. You use your capital to get more capital. I mean, looping is in this case just, you know, you leverage some equity, you leverage something to get something, and you leverage that again. Now, again, to specifically go into it, Mans has brought a new meaning to this. TradFi is enamored, and the next best opportunity for clones to mimic this form of leverage is Ethereum. It works until it doesn't. For now, turn the music up and keep those feet moving. As again, the news came out, Michael Saylor's strategy to offer new preferred stock called Stretch, looking to raise another $500 million. Now, this is not similar to FTX because essentially they're not using customers' funds in a negative way. They're using debt and equity to buy more Bitcoin, right? But what Ponzi is talking about is the amount of leverage they are using. They don't actually have that much money, but they're able to get a lot more to buy these freaking BTCs. And I don't think that's necessarily bad, right? Some people are worried, what if Bitcoin crashes hard? Then what would happen? Because Michael Saylor is leveraging it really, really hard. So, I mean, at some point they'd get wrecked. But regardless, this basically allows for an opportunity for this to happen to other different cryptos. Like an Ethereum, some are arguing perhaps like an XRP or something of the sort. And I mean, I can't say anything against that. There is indeed a possibility, because it's happening right now pretty hard as well, that multiple different other cryptos will get such companies going for them. And let me just say this. Almost any crypto out there already has a company of this sort. There's almost no crypto left untouched because it's a very big hype. But none of them are necessarily that successful. If I ask you now, what is the most known one for Ethereum? A lot of y'all would not be able to name it, right? For XRP, I guess it must be Ripple, maybe? You know, because obviously they got a freaking ton of it. But they don't raise necessarily more money to buy more XRP. Matter of fact, they sell XRP. Now, Moper says, looping sounds a bit bad. You know, I have one fun little thing to show you when it comes to looping. And I almost didn't want to do it. But I have to. All right. If you're not a fan of Bitcoin, you're not a fan of Saylor, I don't think this will make you more of a fan, because if you really break down their announcement, it does get a bit swifty. All right. It does get a bit funny. So he said, Strategy is offering Stretch, a new perpetual preferred stock via IPO to select investors. To view the press release, yabba-dibba-dabba-doo. Now, if I quickly go ahead and find this. Give me just a second. Where's the other? I'm going to have to dive deep. Okay, I forgot where it is at. I lost it in the sauce. Anyway, there's basically, maybe I can type it in. There we go. Here we go. So I was able to type it in. Michael Saylor after drawing his scheme in the shape. So what are we talking about here? Well, it's basically what they're doing. Long-term target BTC capital structure, about 3 years. BTC rating 10x, and you can see people are laughing because he's basically describing it as some sort of interesting and kind of stupid pyramid. But yeah, it is a pretty funny thing. Now, again, as long as Bitcoin doesn't have any major crash, this just keeps on working and it's all fine. But some people are worried about it for that reason. Then again, as long as Bitcoin doesn't get the unholiest of crashes going, I think he could literally become one of the richest people on earth within a few years, because it's just going that well. MicroStrategy has generated a Bitcoin gain of I guess he's explaining how many Bitcoins worth of gains he had, huh? 93,000 year to date, worth $11.1 billion. In the first 3 weeks of July, we achieved a Bitcoin gain of 5.6 thousand BTC, worth $700 million. And I mean, they are doing pretty freaking amazing. It is huge. You know, when you really start breaking it down, look at how much freaking BTC they're buying. It's crazy. It really, really is crazy. The numbers. Regardless, that is interesting indeed to think about the opportunity then for other cryptos to get some sort of companies like this, because you could definitely argue that whatever Saylor here is doing is pushing every single one of, I wouldn't say what he's doing is going to push every single one. Essentially, with a little bit of stretch, funny enough, then yes. But I would say the way he's buying, in my opinion, it pushes Bitcoin up quite significantly. So if this were to happen for other coins, it could also do that, because there's always a certain amount of buying pressure. Now, Saylor, I believe they literally just bought Bitcoin at, again, 118,000 or something like that. Just now the price hit 120, so from that perspective, it's not bad. But it's funny. He also does not buy that dip. He just buys. He just buys whenever they're able to raise more money. And there is a beautiful thing in that, which is essentially when it comes to most of our crypto, I'm stuck for a long time. I'll quickly get rid of it. Essentially, for the most part, if you just buy the freaking top, wherever you just buy, it tends to work out quite beautifully. And that kind of same principle goes for almost any single one of our cryptos thus far, because most of them are at high points. Anyway, guys, if you've not done it yet, we've got 350 people in. Make sure you go ahead and press the like button on the stream. Why not? It's slowly but surely we're building up here. We've only been streaming for a few minutes. And again, whenever people don't get notifications, it's a bit slower. Did y'all get notifications or no today? Felix says, why are we dumping today? I would argue we're not dumping at all. This is just a sideways day. And this is the first day in a while that we're not breaking heights. But funnily enough, depending on how the day ends up, this is the weekly chart for altcoins, right? Let's go for XLM, for example. This is the, let's go here, daily chart for XLM. It's not really dumping, it's just a slow day. It's just really not too much happening. If we go one more down, this is the daily chart for XRP. We're like half a cent or something like that away from making a new daily high if we're able to close this in 4 hours or something like that. So we're not necessarily dumping. It's just literally a day where we saw some downside, came right back up, and for the most part, nothing is really happening. And actually, I must admit, I almost didn't want to post my video last night. Almost didn't, because I was afraid of the reactions, because XRP's price was dropping, right? I posted the video right here around 6 o'clock. Here we go, like in the middle of this. So the XRP price was like 343. And I posted a video screaming why I'm so freaking bullish. And I would never not post it. It was just about timing. I'm thinking, maybe people will really, really despise me for saying that when the price is going down. But then I realized, screw every single person who thinks that way. I keep saying exactly whatever my opinion is, and I'm screaming every single day that I don't care about what the price currently is. I care about where it's going to be over the next few weeks, the next few months. And for that reason, I just keep buying the freaking the coins, right? I keep buying more ETH, I keep buying more XRP, I keep buying more BTC. The problem is, if I didn't have as much as I do, I'd probably stay. I'm going to have to refresh all these websites real quick. If I did not have, I'm in the position that I'm currently at, I would probably buy less BTC, yeah, that's probably it, about less BTC, but I'd probably still continue to buy XRP, ETH, etc. because with some good leverage, ETH is still not at an all-time high, and it could still probably do a few multiples of it. I mean, it's not, quote unquote, done. The whole move on ETH, I don't think is done. But as it currently stands, ETH at about 36.94. Right now, there's, in my opinion, only really one direction. It's one direction. Unless Bitcoin decides to make a break for it and just break down, go to like 114, 𝗕𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓. But if it doesn't, as long as it sustains these prices or has a slightly upward bias, I think ETH also is just going to go right back to the 4K mark. A lot of people keep saying that 3,800 is the moment to sell for ETH, 200 is the moment to sell for SOL. Let's quickly see. SOL is still touching upon 200 though. I mean, you could have definitely made a good amount of schmeckles by selling into 200 consistently. Only for a few hours here would you not have loved your life. But generally speaking, again, we can clearly see, I think. Maybe if we go zoom in slightly further. Let's quickly check it out. I think it's arguably been a pretty interesting road if you were selling into the 200s. No, it's definitely been slightly too high for that to be a really, really funny endeavor. Because you got to realize, if you're using high leverage, then going from 200 all the way towards like 204, 2.5% up, it still does sting. So yeah, this definitely has not worked. Then again, the move downwards could have been juicier every single time. So it just depends on how you see it. If you had a little bit of leeway, you could have definitely made some opportunities in that. But right now it seems Solana is also trying to break out towards the upside. I wonder if this is also, no, I was going to say the highest daily, but we saw like almost $300 back in the Trump era, right? Yeah, so there's definitely been some way higher days. How about weeks? So this is 2021. We saw our highest close at about 250. In the beginning of the year, the highest close was actually also about 250. And then right now we are still actually below 200. So we still got a good way to go for Solana. Not extremely cheap anymore, Solana here, ever since it overtook 169, something like that. And the funniest thing is, it went from 173, where I was kind of suspicious of it because ETH was outperforming, all of a sudden back to 199 in a freaking snap, huh? And that's how funny and how quick these things can go. Really, just one day you're enjoying it, watching it all go meh, meh, meh. You're complaining all the time, and all of a sudden it's just right there in your face at the freaking top. It can really go that fast. It can really all change in a span of like a few days. Anyway, if you might be wondering, how are the new bots doing? The ones that opened just a few days ago? Not too bad. All right, so The plan here is I might just from now on try to open more and more of these coin margin things. So what's the difference? These, the ones that I have here, they just try to get themselves more coins. So for example, for Solana, I only put 5 SOL in because I'm trying to test all this stuff out, right? But you can see the whole concept is just grinding out SOL in the process instead of like my other ones where it's grinding out dollars. Now, depending on what I like, to a certain extent, I'm thinking, no, dollars is better because I'm using dollars that I've got left over to try and get me more dollars. It's wise. On the opposite, I'm thinking, if I got a juicy amount of SOL just sitting somewhere, I might actually be able to grid out more by using low leverage. I can still keep it in a really, really safe spot. Again, this case here, liquidation is 141. I don't think that's high at all. But then with a lot of SOL that I have, which I've not used yet, but again, you know, at that point, it might be able to grid out, for example, maybe significantly more than just staking it. Then why should I not try such an opportunity? That's what I've been thinking about. Because even if the price does go against me, is it really that bad? I don't know. Because the leverage is not going to be that high. I could even, I guess, do it with no leverage at all. But, let's see. Mr. Crypto says, GM, we are printing. Are you printing, really? I mean, nothing really too crazy is happening, right? ETH BTC has started to fall down ever so slightly. Altcoins still are looking good, but for the most part, things are up ever so slightly. It's not that crazy, just crazy. Then again, we always have to admit that some people can definitely just retire off of like a small move like this. I mean, frames are dropping. Okay, we're good. 1% was dropped. Bitcoin breakout. Yeah, but was it that great? Because we're still below 120. Yes, we hit higher, but I mean, from another angle, let me quickly actually take a look at this. Are you talking about this Bitcoin breakout? The fact that Bitcoin is breaking out right now. On the 4-hour, broke out, did not get ourselves a confirming candle, retested, and is right now moving on. We did actually touch back above 120, which was amazing, but the alts are not reacting to it just quite yet. I guess, though, if Bitcoin sets this through, it could be quite interesting because right now a lot of... Whoa! Wait a minute. Pengu is absolutely flying. What? That is crazy. I wonder how that is doing. Yo! We put only 1.5K and it's up 1K in the last week here. 70%. What is this? I already told you guys, Pengu was one of the craziest ones in terms of what it was able to cash out. It's already traded 6,000 times last week, but this is crazy. Alan coming with the $5 US. Thank you very much. Saying, Dusty, do you sell your crop during the peak of alt season and then buy back in crypto winter? What is your strategy? Yes. Oh, specifically XRP. Well, have I done that? Really? No. I actually try to always avoid it as much as possible because I find it so difficult and so stressful if you sell everything and the price goes up so much more. But if we're looking back at the previous runs, things have always come down for a good while, specifically after a euphoric period. So what I used to say is, I think it's a wise idea, and I'm not a financial advisor. Nothing I say in this video is financial advice. I'm never making you any guarantees. A quick little side step. Do you share your trades? Everything is live streamed. Everything is public. Everything is in videos. Every single one of the trades, even our $1 million XRP trade, we've done together here. Every single time I bought, I told everybody. Every single time I've sold, you've seen it live on stream or in a video. So if you're asking, do I share my trades? Is this the first time you're watching? Because every single thing I've done here has always been online. Sometimes like a few hours after. For example, I set some of these some of the bots up, some of these ones specifically, but then it's like 3 hours after or something like that. And I don't think for a lot of those it's a big difference. So to get back, you know, I said before, I used to always say, sell into the year. So for example, back in 2023, we used to say sell into 2025. From day one, basically start selling 1% a day. But the only counter I have to that strategy, and that's something very important worth mentioning, is sometimes the market is not with you. In this case here, the market went good in 2021 at the start, but then all of a sudden we had a massive crash, partially maybe due to Trump, and everything just kind of pushed further away by like half a year. And I'm still saying right now, it's probably not a stupid idea to start selling into, the next massive wave in terms of pumps. And that would be, let's say XRP breaks to $4.50, right? As an example. It depends on how fast things go. If that happens the 1st of August or before that, I'd probably start selling small little chunks. But you can see me cashing out of my trades all the time. That's because they're two different bags. Let me just go to like this. Sometimes a bit annoying, this camera, man. It's not the camera, by the way. It's the USB. But I can't fix it. I've tried so many different things. So I just accept it. So for the most part, what I'm thinking of doing this time around is looking at how fast the pace is going. If the market goes up with such significant speeds, very, very fast, meaning, for example, the next week, all of a sudden, we're up 40%, yeah, we might have to start selling a bit sooner. And that does not mean our whole bag at once. I'm always an advocate of selling pieces. For example, selling 1% of your remaining balance a day, because that way you can basically go on for infinite amounts of time, and you're not as angry or sad if the market moves up significantly because you still had a good chunk. The counter would be that you only want to start this when the market has already done some interesting numbers. Because if you started too early, you might sell before any of the market actions really happened, and you're basically selling just before the alt season. And maybe not everything, but still, if you're selling 1% a day after a month, you still sold 25% or whatever, or maybe more of your entire freaking portfolio, right? So that's the counter to it. On the opposite side, even if you're selling 25%, because you sold 1 month before the alt season, you still had the majority of your funds left for the crazy move up, but also you were keeping yourself sane by cashing out good chunks. It's an iffy one. So my answer would always be, do whatever you feel comfortable with at the time. If you're a person who cares more about having the realized dollars in your bank, for example, or in your coins than having the amount of coins, then this is easier. But if you care more about actually having coins, for example, you want to prefer to have 0.1 Bitcoin rather than the dollars that it is worth, yeah, then obviously this is more and more difficult. Mrs. XRP is back. Welcome, welcome. Ordis says it only pumps when you're not looking. That is good. Dusty, do you see the price of XP going below $3? Yeah, I could see that happening. And people sometimes look at this and think, well, you see going below $3, that means you think the price is going to crash. No. If we go below $2, that's a crash. I'm going to be screaming out. In terms of what I tied on my video, even at a 10% dump, I might call it a crash or a dump or something like that. But in the reality, things cannot go up 30% every single day without coming back 20 or 30% sometime. If we were to go back 20, 30%, go back to like, $2.80, I think that's completely within parameters. Nothing strange, nothing crazy at all. But we've really not seen much. And I still stand by the fact that in this type of market, we should see these things as opportunities. I got a couple of tweets to show you here. Give me just a second. Let me grab some. All right, let me grab some. So if I go back to my bookmarks, here we go. Let's see a few things. So first of all, this is a really funny one. Alex Becker said, was at the nicest restaurant in Dallas last night. At the end of my $12,000 dinner, the waiter asked for a tip. First of all, I never like it when people, we cannot go into that discussion again about asking for tips. But regardless, I got in real close to his ear, and whispered, it's alt season. Best tip of his life. I bet he will be rich like me soon. I like that post a lot. That was so freaking funny. All right. Then, there's some traders out there that are publicly known to be freaking goats. 𝗬𝗓𝗓𝗔𝗡 is one of them, right? Known to be number one in the world on a few different time periods, specifically on Bybit or maybe Binance, I don't remember. 𝗬𝗓𝗓𝗓 just closed his Ethereum long with a $3 million loss and deposited $5 million USDC to Hyperliquid, then went long BTC with 20x leverage with a position of 1,700 Bitcoin, about $200 million. And that's kind of funny to me sometimes. That A lot of people are not realizing just how much money people are doing this with, even still with leverage. And a lot of people like to always say, no, but leverage is bad, leverage is bad. This is seriously also how a lot of people get to quote unquote greatness. And a lot of companies are doing it. Even MicroStrategy here with billions of dollars is doing it because this, even with housing, right? If you want to get into real estate, most people leverage things in some way, shape, or form because it's so hard to get to the top or to increase things exponentially if you're not leveraging it in some way, shape, or form. Now, I'm always telling people, be careful with leverage, don't overdo things. But on the opposite side, if you're not leveraging things ever at all, things are just so significantly slower, especially when the market is, in this case, for you, right? When the probabilities are looking good to test your luck a little bit. I wouldn't even call it luck, but if you're overdoing it, well, you might reap the repercussions. But in theory, it's also just leaving capital free. Even if I had 1K and I just wanted to do a 1K trade, so theoretically speaking, it'd be a 1-to-1, right? It'd be the same as using no leverage at all. I'd probably still use leverage. Why? Because the probability of the price going down so significantly is quite small. So if I had, for example, $333 times 3 leverage, I'd still have the 666 free as basically free roaming capital. Yes, you pay a small fee for that, but it's quite small. You could do stuff with that in the meantime while your position, what is the probability of it crashing so much in a single time? But then again, you could also use cross, where you still have it in your balance, still able to use it into different things, kind of like cross it, while able to use your capital for more. I don't know, I just always say that people think, yeah, but leverage is for the DJs. Again, this is one of the most profitable guys in the entire freaking world. Sometimes, just first of all, let's open his profile. You can see in this case here, if you go look through some trades, you can see the amount of money they've been able to cash out. And again, you can publicly see this on the exchange, so it's not just a LARP type of screenshot. And you start to realize that this is indeed what they do to make the big schmeckles as well. Now, once you start looking at the numbers there, you can see, right, he's got some low leverage, 5, 9, and no liquidation price, meaning he has significant sums of money on his account. But the thing still stands, in my opinion, that just being against it fully, if it's a religious thing, I get it 100%. But otherwise, you might not understand it. Because I, at the start, always told people, no, until I really started getting into it. And I realized, what if I've been doing all this time? Because in times like this, I think if you're not leveraging anything at all, it's a lot of wasted opportunity. Unless, again, you're not a person who likes to watch it every day. You're not a person who likes to keep up with it. I get it then as well. All right, let's see. So another angle to that. 𝗬𝗪𝗧𝗪𝗪𝗧, one of my good friends said, this is the dip. It's long or wrong. Even Solana is pumping. The market craves the treasury bubble bid, what I was talking about earlier in the stream, the treasury bubble situation. And it will accelerate and expand to other coins. You're not bidding because you doubt. Bidding in this case means you're putting your orders in to buy more, to long, right? That's what you call bidding in this case. Don't be left on the sidelines while TradFi reaps the upside. And that again means here, everybody's going crazy now on this treasury bubble. It's going to happen probably for ETH here as well. And he's basically saying either you go long or just skip it or you're wrong. Because from almost any angle, it's just, there's a freaking magnet towards the upside right now. And as you might have seen from my channel here, the reason I've not really sold much at all is because I see the upside as really crazy, even on the short term, and the downside quite minimal. Yes, we could be wrong. Yes, it could be that this whole treasury thing already implodes right now, but it feels as if there is going to be a little bit more craziness still in the midst. It feels like there's going to be a little bit more crazy shenanigans when it comes to these treasuries before that were to happen. Now, guys, I'm going to say it again. If you're watching the stream right now, make sure you go ahead and press the like button on it because we've got about 450 people in, but only 87 likes. This does not make sense. Make sure you press that button. And I always find it funny, you guys having these interesting discussions in the chat. Your volume settings are a bit low. The thing is, if I look at my mic thing, if I put it higher, which I can do significantly, the problem is eventually I'm going to start clipping, I can do it higher and higher and higher. It's not an issue to me, but, eventually it's going to sound really bad. So I got to find the right balance there. Oh, was it that bad? Dillion says, bro, I'm at work. What is it? Oh, is it that? Did I do that bad? It's for me. It's just like a little roll, right? So I didn't. Oh shit. Oh shit. Was it that bad? Oh shit. Sorry guys. Oh damn. Okay. Oh damn. Oh shit, guys. Shit. My bad. My bad. All right. Can happen to the best of us. That was not the. Oh shit! I think I lost an eardrum. Oh no. Oh, I messed up. I messed up. Eric says I heard nothing. All right. Sorry for all your cats who've gotten woken up. Vasim says do it once more. Some people just like to see the world burn, you know? All right. Anyway. Yeah, that was on me. All right. If one of your ears stopped working, you know what? Let's just hope XRP or whatever coin you're holding does so well you can buy a new ear. All right. We won't be doing that again. Don't worry about it. I will remember this. It's perfect now. Yeah. Ooh. Okay. How we doing? Oh shit. How we doing, chat? Is what Stroker. All right. Let's see. What else did I got? Did I have more? XG says, oh yeah, this was actually a post I really wanted to show y'all, all right? It was, Mark says, now I can't hear nothing. I think his headphones broke or your ear broke. I don't know, bro. I hope you figure it out, dog. XGC's had a post I really wanted to share with everybody here. Because even though it's kind of stupid, it was, to me, quite beautiful. And what he basically said was, nothing is more important in crypto than being able to buy something with full conviction and just waiting. When you really look at almost every single person who made it to the freaking top, the one thing that brought them there, for the most part, was just believing in something. And there's one meme coin guy, Murad, who's really well known for that idea. And obviously, his high of his portfolio was like 50 mil or something like that. Then it went down to 12 mil, and now it's back to 50, 60, maybe even 70. I don't know. But, yeah. Okay, guys, you guys keep saying how many speakers got broken. Guys, I don't know what to say anymore. I messed up. All right, some ears and some speakers have gotten broken. Well, you learned a valuable lesson. I don't know exactly what that lesson is, but there's probably a lesson in there. To get back to it, though, if you really look back at even XRP, let's say you really had all your eggs in one basket, which is never smart. But BTC even goes the same way. Almost any coin goes the same way. ETH the same. If you really hammered down on one thing, it would have been quite hard to lose. Because even XRP, from the depths of, I guess last year, December, or even the depths of this season, if you had a bit of leverage, but let's say even without it, going from 50 cents to $3.50 right now, it's pretty significant. You might say, yeah, but I was. If you had really seriously believed in it, and you caught a 7x on whatever you were able to put in, that's pretty crazy. But also, if you thought about it then with leverage, it would be absolutely insane. You might say, yeah, but that's the same for Bitcoin, the same for all these alts. Sure, most of these alts, from their bottoms, for example, which a lot of you guys are in for, a lot of you guys have been here for at least a few months, it's about, in that sense, just going at it, all right? Because if you start, oh, I'm buying a little bit, you buy once and you never look back at it again, it's like, maybe. But some people had so much conviction, perhaps, for example, in ETH, or like Michael Saylor here has with BTC. They keep putting every single dollar they have into it. They keep going. The price keeps going sideways or downwards. They keep going. And for XRP, a good example can be, even if you got in 2017 and you bought XRP at the pico top of $3.50, At the start, you would have been, you would have been smashing everything. You would have been smashing the desk. You would have hated things, right? But at some point or another, it would have all turned around because you could have bought a good chunk of XRP at 10 cents. And it takes a real strong motherfucker. It takes a damn, all right, to buy something at $3.50 and still continue to buy it at 10 cents. You got to have freaking balls of you. They got to be freaking about this size, like about maybe slightly larger, this size, a freaking steel, all right? To do that, $3.50 is when you started clicking, and then at 10 cents, it's like freaking 19 whatever down. You're still buying that? But look at them now, huh? Whoever did that, whoever was that person who was buying XRP in the March 2020 dip when it went so freaking bad. Oh, my days. That guy must be having a field day. He's just throwing his money at freaking people on the street every now and then. They're just throwing it at people. And yes, you could argue that Bitcoin could have had a similar thing. But for example, because it was $3,000 at that time, you could argue that, sure. Which again proves my point. If you had hammered down on these coins from whatever, right? And okay, a lot of you guys did not get in until the 2021 bull market though. So I'm not trying to give too much in that. All I was trying to say is when you really start looking at it, most of these coins have done some crazy performances. It's just that people do not want to commit or they're afraid when things go down. They only get excited when things go up. Anyway, another interesting post. This is a counter to all I've said normally. Blank said, for the people saying that this cycle is no different in a bullish way. From 2017 top until 2021 top is about 1,431 days. From 2021 top until today is about 1,330 days. So maybe you should pray this cycle is different instead because we're closer than you might think if it's not. And I'll counter this by saying, what? Now, first of all, because this means nothing, all right? Just because the top until the 2021 top is this amount of days, you know, the tops don't have to be exactly matching up. But basically what he's saying, because, I mean, if it's, for example, 60 days off, we wouldn't really count that as strange. But let's see here. 2021 top until today is about 1,338 days. So from this logic, if top to top is about 1,450 days, let's say, we'd have about 120 days, maybe like say 4 months left. Well, my own personal thoughts have been time and time again that the high is reached between August of this year and January of 2026. So by that logic, if we've got like 3, maybe 4 months left until we're at the exact same number, yeah, that works out. So I don't know why he says you should pray the cycle is different instead because we're closer than you think. No, we're exactly in the perfect spot. This is perfect. This is exactly what we always talk about, and this is exactly how it should be. Why would I hope the cycle is different? Why would I want to be further away? The only thing is, people start sometimes saying that you want the cycle to last longer because we've not pumped that much yet. But I would argue, because again, all they keep saying, and this is so funny to me, people keep saying, oh, but Bitcoin is only at 120 and we only have a few months left before the market is probably going to tank. So we can't go that much higher. Oh, but XRP is only at 360 or 350, whatever, 354. But you know, Bitcoin is probably already topped out, so we can't go much further. And I always respond back saying, you know that the market usually drops hard because of the exponential wave before it. So in this case also, if you go back to this person, which again, to my knowledge is kind of like a stupid post, but on the opposite side, he does bring something forward. Why would I hope it's different? Because obviously, if that's the end of the cycle in 100 days, that means we probably peak in 100 days. You know, that probably means the last few weeks before that are the craziest, which means it's right upon us. Now, I could sometimes argue that it's nicer to have something more dragged out, but to really counter it, I prefer the freaking peak to be as fast as possible. I prefer to see 100x tomorrow than the week after, right? The only counter is I will have less coins. So from that angle, I prefer if it's further and further away. But in the reality of things, this exact point here, I don't think shows much. If the top is 100 days away, it could be that the previous 90 days before the top are the best. If the top is, and this is another funny thing, if the top for Bitcoin is in, it could actually still be a while before the top for altcoins is in. Because I believe, let's go back for 1 second. Let's go look at BTC. By the way, indeed, Bitcoin has had a nice little breakout here. If we take a look back at, which is the best chart? Maybe Bitstamp. If we take a look at the 2017 top, right? Here, it is the week of December 11th that Bitcoin topped out at roughly 20K. Want to know a fun thing? XRP hit its all-time high January 4th or 5th. So that was basically, let's say, 3 weeks, a month later or so, after Bitcoin peaked, that XRP peaked. It's just funny to sometimes keep in the back of your head that from this exact post that I've just shown you, everything still lines up and still stands along with my theory of an all-time high, August to January. But the longer we wait for another massive boom, the more, no, actually there's no real conclusion you can draw. Because I could argue that the longer it takes for a massive boom to happen, the more likely it is to be that the peak is in January. But I could argue against that by saying the longer it takes for a boom to happen, the smaller the probability that it's going to be such an explosive rally or something, or that it just might be a shorter lived thing. Meaning even if it takes, for example, until September to see any massive move, we could argue that still then it's all going to happen, for example, within the month of October and then be done by the end of October. So still by that point, it doesn't necessarily have to be January just because we don't see the start of the rally like we usually see earlier. Because in previous cycles, let's say the run-up was 5 weeks of crazy gains in a row. It could be that this cycle is only basically 3 weeks of run-up and then peak season for like 2 weeks. It's hard to say. Let's see. Boston, good question. All right, let's see. Can we agree that cycles prior to regulation and real adoption are different than this one? No. No, I can't argue that. You could say that every cycle has its own parts, every cycle is different, but it's hard to say whether or not that's really going to be different for the price. Because arguably, this season, you could say is different because it has real institutions and real adoption from the higher ups. But you're also exponentially talking about adding more capital. So where, for example, previously, adding 800 billion was a tripling of the market. Right now, if the market is 5 times as great, you'd have to add 4 trillion, for example, to get the same result. So even though every single wave we get crazier and crazier, on an opposite side, you also need significant amounts more capital. So to get the same sort of gains, you also kind of expect the growth to be, it could even be, I guess, linear, but let's say the growth to be exponential. So is it different? Every cycle is different in essence. But can we say that the gains will be different in that sense? No. And somebody asks, what if the retail misses the entire cycle? First of all, you and I are retail. I could, to some extent, argue I'm not retail, but still I consider myself to be fully retail. So we're not missing the cycle because we're here. If you're asking the real retail, the people are like, they don't know anything, the probability is pretty small because the implosion has a less higher likelihood. It doesn't necessarily happen that often that the market just kind of crashes down to zero if people don't start over leveraging and going crazy and just start buying dumb things always going to go up forever. The only probability is that we get a, like we said before, the bubble with regards to, what was it called now? With all these, the Treasury bubble, and the institutional money is so great that it only stays in the institutional spheres. Meme coins don't really pop off. Altcoins in that sense that are not treasury-wise don't really pop off so much. But then again, maybe people start buying other coins for the treasury hype, etc., etc. There is an argument to make for that that's going to be where peak is at instead of memes and stuff. That's a possibility. Do you expect the ETFs to be delayed? If we have ETFs, what are you talking about? Because Boston says, I guess we are still waiting on big waves of liquidity to come in via ETFs and institutional adoption. We are seeing record-breaking ETF waves. I don't know what you mean. You could argue that a new wave will come, but we are seeing, it's literally BlackRock's most profitable ETF in history. So I don't know what exactly you mean. Maybe that's maybe I'm not getting the point right. Because if we really start breaking it down, what we've seen with Bitcoin ETFs is just insane. The amount of inflows, the amount of profit they're making, it's astronomical. But maybe you're talking about a big boom overnight. Baban says, how to control emotions while our P&L up, down. Please give some suggestions. First of all, I'm not a financial advisor. Nothing I say in this video or stream is financial advice. I make no guarantees to you, and I'll never ask you for anything. So, or maybe just a normal question, right? So how to control your emotions. This is the hardest part. Baban, I like the name. If controlling the emotions was easy, everybody would be rich very freaking quickly, because in essence, the trading stays the same for the most part. If you're doing $100 or 15 million, for example, it's almost the same. The thing is just, the more money it is, the more it starts to trickle in your brain. I know a lot of people that know trading really, really well. Most of what they write out is pretty good, but to stick to it is the hardest part. If you, however, are used to having money, you'll get used to the fact that your P&L goes up and down. If you have nothing, though, it's new. If I now tell another person that's never had whatever I have now, right? I give them my portfolio, and they see the swings that I have in my portfolio every single day, they could probably never sleep again, at least for the first few months, probably. But you get used to it over time. Elon Musk loses what? Tens of maybe billions of dollars a week. Yeah, it's hard for me to fathom, right? It's hard for me to fathom just how much Elon Musk has lost or won in the short period of time. But that's, again, because it's a different well. It's the same as thinking, but again, it's all relative. But the best thing I could say is you just get used to it over time, and you should just stick to your strategy rather than letting your emotions take over. But again, I cannot have any better tips for how to get that done, except for the longer you're in it, the more easy it will get. Faky is looking, coming in with a 184 dirham. Appreciate that. Saying, Faky is looking so strong against ETH. Can you check the chart, please, bro? Their ETP is finally launching next month. I really wonder if you're just Faky team, just sometimes coming in with the big donations so it stays there for a while, so everybody's going to check out Faky. If you are, it is pretty smart, because it's pretty cheap then to get yourself a good spot. If you're just a Faky holder, though, then damn, you have some dedication to Faky, huh? Because, Faky is really one of my lesser meme coins, if I had to say something. It's not in my top arsenal. It could do really, really well, but so can any meme. It's just, like, from my own side, I've never really gotten into Faky as much. Maybe the community is just not as strong to me as some others are. But I mean, it's up 50% this week, so you can't argue against the gains, right? By the way, Pudgy, though, is going absolutely nuts. Flare also has been doing some pretty good numbers. Picoin actually still around. QNT is finally up a little bit, 6% throughout the day. Fartcoin, hot air rises. SPX up good. Bank up good. To be up like 25% of stuff in a week, it's still quite tremendous. Even though people will think, why is it not pumping? Why is it not pumping? The numbers we are seeing this week are still really, really, really good. It's only when you zoom in, or some specific coins like Hyperliquid that are not doing that bad. But in general, the entire market is up some pretty freaking good numbers. It's just a bit slowed down right now until Bitcoin probably makes either a break for it or some alt like ETH goes. Root to Fi says, crazy how funny crypto can be when the prices go up only, like we've seen now, basically. The wake-up call comes when you're in too heavily leveraged, and the dip eventually does come. My point there would be, you know how easy it is to become like a millionaire off of $1,000 in the last month? If only you had known, right, that it would be up this much. Because people like to look at the market and say, oh, why is it down? It's not really. People made millions of dollars off of so little because it's been up so much. However, they were probably degens. There were people who didn't look at risk too much and just went a bit crazy, and it kept on working. I've told you multiple times before why I have so much money left in my account that I'm not using, and it's just to keep myself a bit sane. If I had used, for example, I could more money in my capital, I could have opened another $6 million worth of XRP, right? I could have done it, and we would be up probably a few million dollars here, which would have been pretty cool. But it would have been a pretty degenerate move to go for, just following the fact that if it went down, I would have hated my life. But it would have worked. It would have done great. The thing is, at some point, it will not. Now, the thing is, a lot of people, they look at the gains, you keep adding to winners. Some people add too much. They're like, no, this is going to give this. And it could be that you're right. The probability is pretty high, which is why a lot of people like to do it, right? But there is the chance, there's the off chance that you do it right before a crash. And if you're a bit too crazy in it, you lose yourself for a little bit. Which is why I sometimes like to stick to the mediocre numbers. Then again, that's also how you don't get to, greatness in that sense. Just to counter it. If you really go a bit crazy, for example, now that Bitcoin broke out, you go heavily for the breakout because the market is good, everything's good. Yeah, that's also how you make big bucks, big schmeckles. It is true. Bro, it looks like you need some sleep. I just literally woke up. I woke up at like 3 p.m. today. It is crazy. It's right now only 6. I haven't even eaten anything. I just woke up, went for a nice little walk on the beach, right to streaming. I have another post here, but I can't show it. It says every 18 to 25-year-old, if only, needs to be risk on. Hyper, and then there's a G word, which I don't want to say. Hyper, flipping, so to speak, on the internet. You aren't going to make it investing in an IRA or a 401k. I don't fully agree with him because almost every single person will make it over time. But if you really are really young, you're 18 years old watching this right now. I cannot give you any advice in that sense, but it could give you my thoughts on what I would do. I would indeed go quite risky. Just really risking for the biscuit in this little 6-month time span or something like that, because the probability of being right is just so high. You could be wrong, sure, but it's definitely worth the try. And if I look back at the previous run where I was younger, for example, maybe in 2017, then really, if I look back, those are my glory days because I'm sitting in front of a screen all day trying, getting all the freaking info. And I told you before, if you really want to succeed in this market, the easiest way to do it is by having an information overload, by just knowing more than the rest of the people. So by knowing what the next trend is going to be, if you have to ask somebody else, you're not as locked in. Vasim says, aren't you going to update your Google Chrome? Brother, don't be doing that right now, bro. Don't be Chrome watching right now. Thoughts on Trump and Melania? That's ass. The thing is, they could do well if people now, but I don't know. I would just never touch that stuff with a 60-foot pole. I still have Trump and Melania, but I would never buy it because it's just like maybe, but there's no real good grounds. Afterwards, we could say, yeah, but man, buying into Trump coin, I don't know, man. It doesn't feel good it doesn't feel good. Let me just say it like that. It could go up with the run, but anything could go up with the run. Why would I be buying Melania? Then Trump is a better one. Why Melania, man? It's just, that was the biggest money grab. We knew it also. Everybody knew it. Not to mention the so-called strategic reserve announcement. I'm sure that will come after the Clarity Act is passed, the Senate Act signed, when the Treasury bills on the XGC ledger via... Folsom says, when you date, do you mention crypto or keep it out quiet so they like you for the right reason? I don't know what you... So if you're saying, should you keep your money a secret, if that's the question, this really depends on the person you want to attract. Because a lot of my friends that I know, some people, they literally, they want the freaking 10 out of 10 baddie, but they don't look the right way. So the only way they're going to get it is with either status or maybe money, whatever. So this is what they want. Some people don't care about the true love in that sense. Another argument could be, you have everything and it's hard to let your life, not look the way it is. And you also don't necessarily want somebody who'd settle for less, but you just got to test their loyalty. If the loyalty is only to the money or eventually to you. So you do it afterwards, sort of. Another thing people like to do is like completely quiet everything. But again, if you're living a certain life, it can sometimes be hard. You can maybe do it for a few days, but eventually it does shine through. Unless you're going to completely change your life around that person. But it also depends on how much money you got. If you got $1 million, it's pretty easy to hide. If you got $450 million, it's sometimes a lot more difficult. Some people live the exact same lifestyle, even though they're a freaking billionaire probably. Probably, right? But most people don't. Thoughts on Trump and Melania? I just said, I don't think they're nice at all. I paid them to go away. Dusty, are you holding Ondo? Yeah, a little bit. Because mostly, Ondo is also one of the coins that for some reason, everybody, when I look at the chat, everybody seems to always love. People keep saying, Ondo, Ondo, Ondo. And that's always like a retail thing where if people are really excited about it and I don't really fully understand why, I need to have some. By the way, guys, if you've not done it yet, make sure you go ahead and press the like button on the stream. You don't have to, but if you press it right now, we'll instantly... The funny thing is, just watch it, just for fun. If you right now press the button, we will instantly be at 200. Just see. If you right now watching this, just one person, You're not watching this, right? You, right there. You press that button. If you're logged in, you can take the time. You press that button. You'll see we are instantly at 200. Maybe it doesn't, show it for you yet, but I'll show you here on my screen that we are there. If you don't believe me, just press that button right now. Just press that like, and you will see what I mean, all right? I'll give you a few more seconds. Maybe, maybe you didn't hear me the first time. I'll give it a little second for it to load on in. Did you press the button yet? Still waiting on you to press the button. You pressed it? All right, there we go. 200. I just told you. Thank you. Thank you for pressing the button. It is a bit crazy that was exactly 200, to be honest with you. That's pretty interesting. There is push to Dusty. Appreciate you, Juan. What are you guys all watching from right now? I'm hungry as a moth. Like, it's like a moth. It's 6 p.m. and I woke up at 2 or 3. I don't remember. 2, something like that. I just went outside. I should have eaten something. But the thing is, there's a buffet right now downstairs. There always is. But I'm like, but I don't know how much I had in terms of coverage. Let me see. What else did I have? Guys, none of you reminded me. I still need to fix some things. I need to fix this still. We tried to use Grok, but it didn't work. And now it's going to be a bit awkward. 9 are picked by Grok, and then 6 have to pick. Okay. I'll get this done end of day. And I also have the 3 people in the chat. Okay, 2 people, and there's 1 more we need to pick later on. I need to do things. I keep streaming, and then I just I'm behind on things. All right, this is not so nice. I need to get my things in order. But when the prices are going this crazy, now I need BTC breakout. I don't really do much more except for just look at these charts. Derek says, "Go get some. Take some for us too." Yeah, Dusty behind. Yeah, right. I'm very much behind. 2 big pauses. I wanted to chat the other day. I messaged you on X. All right, I'll tell. Let me see it. Let me see it actually right now. Matter of fact, let's see. I need to scroll. Okay, maybe let me see. Let me say, hey man. Let's see. I forgot which of the 2. I see 1. Who's the other one? And you don't know the amount of people. I keep telling you, right? The amount of people that text for stupid things and want scammers, it's significant. So it's sometimes a bit of a, it's sometimes a thing where you don't want to open it because it's like so much garbage. It's the same, I think, if you work in corporate and you do customer support and you see the email list. You're like, I have to get through with this today again. Or if you just open an account, but whatever. Right? Customer support is awful. And I worked in customer support. I know. All right. Hello. Oh man. Customer support. You gotta love it. You gotta love to hate it. Man, some people's shalom, nigga. What's this guy? Interesting. Dusty, are you a 𝗵𝗫𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 fan? Fan? I wouldn't say that, but he's a cool guy. Yeah, he's a nice guy. What do you think about him finally coming out of the shadows, the face reveal? So, I don't know what is the question there? You understand me? Like, you're asking me, what do I think of somebody else's face reveal? Are you asking me if I think he's pretty, or are you asking me if I'm happy he did that, or what are you trying to get out of me right there? Am I surprised? Should I have been like, I expect him to be a different color? Should I start saying, no, actually, matter of fact, this guy, kind of like when you were in the shadows. Yeah, because you're racist. So I understand. I'm joking. The amount of people who said that I was fat and white. That's what they all thought I was going to be. If I go back, that's 98% of the comments for a long time. I don't know why my voice sounds fat, but the more you see me now, it's harder to realize it, right? Because I ain't fat, all right? You are if I squint. Webb says, guys, you have to go to the store and buy too much so that you can't pay, haha, knowing you're rich in your portfolio. I don't know about all that. I don't know about all of that, to be honest with you. You're sort of fat. Damn, bro. You're really doing me like that. Hey, Dusty, how is your portfolio percentage? Do you have bags mainly on 𝗬𝗪𝗧𝗀 bots or just holding it that you bought low before? Dusty, how is your portfolio percentage? Do you have bags mainly on 𝗬𝗪𝗧𝗀 bots or just holding it that you bought low before? Let's do it piece by piece. How is your portfolio percentage? It's doing pretty good. You mean in terms of gains, or you mean where it's at? Okay, I think where it's at, because afterwards you're saying, do you have bags mainly on 𝗬𝗪𝗧𝗀 bots? No. Or just holding it that you have bought low before? Or am I holding what I bought low? Yeah. I think that's... ask it again. Let me see if I can give you a better answer. Try rewriting it a bit. I don't like you are so... You need to look like us nerds. What? But if you're asking me, okay, let me break one thing down. If you're asking me, hey, should I be doing the 𝗬𝗪𝗧𝗀 thing? Should I be doing the 𝗫𝗠𝗏 thing? You know, I personally, in terms of conviction, think it can actually work out just fine. Like, just how much I have on Bybit is kind of funny. Sometimes I realize that, or how much you can trade with if you really want to make it big. There's not that many ways to do it if you want to keep everything in cold storage. But I wouldn't necessarily go for everything unless you want to do it for a short term. But that's not because I don't trust the platform. It's just because if you have no more coins left, it sometimes just may not feel as safe to you. Like in my mind, I kind of trust 𝗫𝗀𝗏 or 𝗬𝗪𝗧𝗀 or Bybit with at least, again, so let's say a friend were to come up to me. It depends on how much they have. But some friends, for example, on Bybit may have, $40 million, and then they're not stressing out over it, right? Or on 𝗬𝗪𝗧𝗀, and one of my friends has more than $10 million on it. He's not really stressing out over it at all. But again, it depends on your total portfolio size. But I'd say for a lot of people, even having half their stuff on an exchange is not that big a deal. Now, in crypto, they always say never keep your money on an exchange. And I understand that. There's a lot of people that say that. And the risk is if the exchange goes bust, you're not in a good position. But I would argue that most of what the stuff that I do is on exchanges. If I don't keep money on there, how am I going to do things? So my counter would always be, you know what? Whatever. Do whatever you feel like. If you're afraid of getting hacked, then you're just, your OPSEC is bad. But if you're afraid of the exchange going down, yeah, that's always a possibility, right? But I have the same always with other things where I'm like, there's always a possibility. There's a possibility I'm going to get eaten by a sheep, Who cares? I got to risk it for the biscuit, which is not necessarily for everybody. But I'm like, if I can't go for any crypto exchange, and again, I use multiple, right? If one of them goes down, I got unlucky, but 𝗓𝗓𝗓. If all of them go down, I'll just accept my defeat. I'll accept that I got to go work back at McDonald's. I'll accept it. I'll work with pride, knowing the heights we once saw. 𝗕𝗪𝗲𝗀𝗀 says ADA didn't even dip. Nope. We're coming to Zandvoort and Amsterdam. Any places to see? I have no freaking idea, dude. But even if you're asking in any country I've stayed in for years or months, I don't know what's like fun to see. because it depends on what you like. A lot of people come up to me and say, Dusty, you should, when you're in Panama, go to this. When you're in Costa Rica, go to this. And I go, I'm like, this was ass. But maybe, in a hotel, often they also try to recommend you things. If you go to like fancy restaurants or fancy hotels, the freaking concierge or the waiter, they will come up to you and give you recommendations. So they will tell you, hey, these are the places you should eat. These are the things you can visit. These are the things you might want to do. They always give you like a little advice piece. Not always, not every good hotel or restaurant, but the hotel restaurant is what I mean, right? So in the good hotel, in the restaurant, specifically if you stay in that hotel. And then I realized a lot of this shit is for really old people. Like I'm talking like 75, which theoretically speaking is not what I consider really old. But I mean, in comparison to what I would like, this is for an older crowd. I'd say 90 is really old. 100 is really, really old. The older I get, the more I realize 70, it's not that old, really. It's really not. A lot of people at 70 are just swinging, banging, doing good. Trump is what, 80 years old? He's quite old, yeah. But if you really break it down, he's still doing pretty good. Like Biden, that's what I call pretty freaking old. But then again, he was still president just now. So is he really, really old? He's pretty old. But really, really old? I always consider really, really old when you're like this. Like, huh? What you say, my way? Anyway, so relative for tourism, then I'm gonna say really old. But it's so funny. If you asked me 10 years ago, I would have told you 60 is old. And now I'm old. I'm like, damn, 60 is not old at all. Matter of fact, 70 is not that old, Supervid says 70 is old, bro. I think it really depends on the age you're at yourself. The older you get, the more you realize, it really comes pretty quick. And you have a lot of 70-year-olds that don't look that old at all as well. Corny says, McDonald's pay XRP, bro. Dusty, did you work at McDonald's? Bro. What? Why would I have worked at McDonald's? Do I look like I put the fries in the bag? No! I am never serving any of you any freaking fries. Diddick says, Amsterdam is way too busy. Haarlem is 10 minutes with the train from Amsterdam. I like that city more. Haarlem is beautiful. I don't think I've ever been, but I heard a lot of good things about it. Then again, Amsterdam is just better, objectively. So no, don't listen to Diddick. I think he's maybe a Haarlem type of guy. He says it's too busy. You come for the crowd. You come to see the people. You come to see all the stuff, right? Why are you going to a place that's nobody there? If you're visiting, if you're trying to live, maybe you could argue that. But I always say, if you're gonna go somewhere because you really want to see it, you should go to where the crowd's at, where the people at. They go for a reason. How old are you, Dusty? 40? Did you really just call me 40? Damn. You really think I'm 40 years old? Brother, what? Damn, bro. All right. I don't know where things gonna run wrong. All right. I think if I shave my beard again, you'll laugh at how many people. But 40, I've never had that before in my life. That is crazy. Maybe you were 16, that's why you're saying that, or 14 or 12. Toomey says, bro, I would block all these clowns. If I block all clowns, I'd have nobody left. Shine says, I'm 41, nothing wrong with that. Brother, that's if you're 41 right now, you gotta think about how that is if somebody's calling you what? If somebody starts calling you 70 now. Or 59, as an example. Matter of fact, you're 40, you're running 40, 40 starts, 41, and somebody's just calling you 52. Ain't nice. Super visits. I'm actually 27, bro. Man. Tosin says, Dusty. Hi, Dusty. I hope you're keeping well and happy. Thank you. Bro, why would you write that so nicely, man? What was this? This is like, I'm completely shocked. He didn't ask a question. He just, hey, man, I hope you're doing well. I hope you're happy. And he just moves on. Doesn't say anything else. There's still wholesome people on this earth, huh? He just came in to say, hey, man, hope you're doing good. See you later. Hope you're happy, man. And he's out. I like that. That's nice. What a cool guy. I like that guy. You should start writing books. Anyway, what else did I have? Let's see. I put all my spare cash into 𝗕𝗪𝗀𝘀 three weeks ago. Meme God sent that shit to $10 so I can buy a new house and change the name to Fart Manor. Respectively, hot air always rises. I don't know, I found that funny. At 26, I've achieved with crypto what most people achieve at 60. You might ask, what is that? Eyesight loss, back pain, wrist pain, neck herniation, chronic insomnia. If I did it, so can you. Oh, I also didn't even see this video yet. Justin, SEC Chair Paul Atkins says ETH is not a security. You know what? We can take a look at this.
Yeah, well, so similar to Bitcoin, I mean, the SEC has stated informally more than formally that Ether is not a security, and so, but it's obviously the ETH blockchain is very key component for a lot of other digital currencies. So, it's up to companies to decide where they want to put their money and what sort of strategy they have. Obviously, not for me to tell them, but I think it's encouraging that these sorts of digital assets are being embraced by the marketplace, and I think that provides a good future for development and further innovation in this sector. Yeah, well,
all right. Yeah, and I must also get back to what we stated previously, which is the market has been doing really, really well. Some of you guys might think, Dusty, why are we not up a lot? But you got to understand, we've really not had anything happen in a negative way in a good while. Every single time there was a breakout, it was a breakout towards the upside, and it's been pretty freaking beautiful. CBB said, dudes on CT, which is crypto Twitter, pretending to know what's going to happen in the market, next in the market, are LARPs, which is a live action role player. It's just a person who acts like something he's not. No one on CT has a freaking idea of how long this crypto corporate treasury bubble Ponzi is going to last. Oh, and here was Dave Portnoy's. This was so funny, man. For all of y'all that didn't see it yet, I have to pay some homage to it. I'm gonna show it to y'all again, just one more time for the good feelings. This made my day a little bit. I want to show it to y'all again.
I'm getting ready to go to bed, and I can't lie to my people. I have a confession. I sold XRP when it went up to 240 because the guy who told me to buy it told me that I should sell it because he thought Circle would compete with him, and he was unhappy with it. It's up 60% since I sold it, and I would have made millions, and I want to cry, and I don't own it anymore. Even though I was like the leader of the XRP army, I sold it. Good night.
Anyways, XRP. I had, I think, close to $3 million of XRP, and it was hovering. XRP was going from like 210 to 240, back to 210, back to 240. Fine. I wasn't going to sell it. I was going to diamond hands it. But the guy who originally was like, get involved in XRP, and the reason I looked at it, sends me a text out of the blue. And I don't talk to this guy a lot. He knows who he is. He knows who he is. And he's like, hey, not good news that Circle is going to do what XRP is doing, I don't even really know what he's talking about. I'm like, so you're saying sell XRP? He's like, I certainly don't like it that much anymore, or as much as I did. So in XRP, it's going 240 to 210, 240 to 210. When it went back up to around 240, I'm like, all right, I don't. This guy doesn't like it anymore. I'm just going to get out. No sooner did I sell it, the thing went parabolic. It's like 350. I blinked. Made me sick to my stomach. Sick to my stomach. But what are you going to do? What are you going to do? And then the guy is like, well, I didn't sell it. Well, then why did you? He's like, I hold things for 5 years. Well, why did you text me out of the blue being like, I don't like it? Just, I just put it, I put it away. I wasn't even thinking about it. I mean, I'm still doing good in obviously Bitcoin and ETH, but that hurt. So
yeah. I don't know. There was another funny post. I like this one a lot. So this is another thing which a lot of y'all don't understand. If you get into crypto, if you get into investing, is Onda doing good? We'll take a look at it in just a second. But I was going to say, if you get into all this stuff, you can never really truly leave. I mean, this guy posted yesterday. Today I sold all my crypto. This is enough for me. I turned $100 into $2 million in 4 years. Could be, could be LARPing, but it could be. Why? Well, we'll take a look at that in a second. I don't know how many X's or what percentage of profit that is, but for me, it's enough. Now I can invest in lower risk assets and live the rest of my life comfortably. Thank you for everything. And whenever I see these type of messages, I always think it's LARP. I always think it's people just capping to get engagement, but it could be true. But human being said, congratulations, sir. I know it's a joke. Nobody can leave crypto once joined. And he then said, he gave a real good explanation. But the real truth is, it's quite hard to really get rid of everything and never return. First of all, because you always feel like, I could have taken this one higher. I feel like I would never do. But also because, for me, it's so much of my life. I believe in it so much. I take a look at it every single day. All of a sudden, what am I going to do? Right? If all of a sudden the coin pumps like 90%, I'm going to still take a look. And I'm going to be like, and maybe I'm still going to get back in because I'm like, you see, I should have never gotten out. I should have never gotten rid of it all. But that depends on how far in you are. But you can really, I think, the same thing goes for investing though, because the question does become, what are you going for afterwards? I can never get rid of every single coin I have. It's impossible. The guy said, too much stress, sleepless nights. People have even tried to, I don't want to show that anymore. But yeah, also another thing is you could do really, really well and sell it all. But the question does become, then what? What are you going to do with it? If you have a good plan, then I always say, yeah, try it out. For example, even when it comes to this XRP trade, right? Some people say, no, you should cash it out because you can do all this with it. And I always reply back, like, what exactly do you expect me to do with it now? Like, what exactly should I go and do with this? I can buy a house maybe in like a different country. You can maybe buy two, if you do some lending. And then what? This is the potential to go to, for example, millions of schmeckles. The house is going to do okay, but it's going to take a long time. And I've said before, if I was fine with the long-term game, I could just buy the S&P only, and it'd be fine. If I put 10K a month in 60 years, I'd be a billionaire with only $10,000 a month. But nobody wants to be rich in 60 years. It's nice that you have a linear path, right? Sort of. But then again, I'm going to risk it for the biscuit every single time. Yeah. And if you, by the way, are asking yourself, Dusty, where are you trading on? Where are all these on? Or where's the 𝗶𝘀𝗀𝗃 bots on? Well, I just said it, right? All these, of which some are not too perfect, but I think overall they're all doing pretty freaking good. All right, these are all over on 𝗶𝘀𝗃s, of which a link is down below. It's the first link I always have. And then the main platform I use for our main trades is Blowfin. It's down a little bit further. But I really think, I'm really wondering how massive these coin margin futures are going to be and how much of my portfolio I'm going to end up putting in there. Because I'm thinking, I was going to actually just buy in little. Like, for example, I only bought 5, but I had more, right? But I was like, okay, let me just start because I'm buying the Solana top at 188. That's what happened. I'm like, okay, I'll buy once the price comes down. So we only put $1,000 in. Well, times 5, but still. Same for ETH. I was like, okay, you see, it's down 2.7%. If it goes down further, I could just add a bit more. We have 1 ETH, but even then, it's not that much because then it's only still about $4,000 times 5. It's only $20,000. But still, I think the idea is what counts here more so. And then I'm showing people away instead of actually making the craziest amount of schmickles. But it's turned into a lot, huh? I almost never even scroll through anymore. I'm like, I'll take a look back in a few months or so from now. I don't really focus on the day-to-day as much anymore. I just try to enter into new ones that I was still missing. And, of course, I got to keep look at the liquidation prices. But, see, fun fact, virtuals, because of all the gridding, even though we are actually officially still down, because we bought at 197, and it's right now 188, because of the grid profits, we're actually up, fun fact. BNB has been one of the trashiest ones. It's not moved at all since we started this a few months ago. And it's been really, really not volatile. And that's the funny thing. People say, yeah, but do you want the volatility or no? It's a good question. On the one hand, more volatility means more grids, more gains, right? But it also means that you might enter at a wrong time and all of a sudden things go really, really bad. In this case here, with 𝗕𝗏𝗀𝗀𝗀, we got in at 132. And thus far it's been doing really, really well, but it's been a turbulent journey. Up and down significantly throughout. Then again, I think if we look back at this in the next few months, things are going to be great. And I've got patience. Eve says, I just got in. Where's the pump? The problem is, today no pump. Bitcoin pump, by the way. And you guys are saying, oh no, take a look. But this is the Bitcoin chart. We are breaking out. We are pumping from that angle. So Bitcoin is seeing a breakout. Bitcoin just touched 120 a little bit ago. So that is beautiful. But for most altcoins, not really too much happening. Matter of fact, most of them are going slightly down. And it's really only Bitcoin that's had a really, really beautiful move here. Would love you to set some bots up on Blowfin. Yeah, they texted me saying it's coming soon, but they're not that good yet. So maybe in a few weeks. But that's the problem sometimes, right? Sometimes it may be a bit too late for it to be as juicy. Anyway, some people have said that this Bitcoin move is the one to take. That this is going to be where Bitcoin rides back and coils up, you know, towards the great heights. I don't know. We still have ourselves this earlier top to take out. Eve says, okay, I'll be back tomorrow. My bags better be packed. Yep. All right, guys, I'm going to end the stream anyway. I'm going to go get some food. I was looking to see if something crazy happened. I just wanted to cover one of my findings of earlier today. I shared them with you right now. Bitcoin potentially could break back up of 120. And actually, the moment that it does, it could lead to another interesting move for most of the alts, just like how I did a few hours ago. I mean, it's up like $2,500 in the day, right? So stay watching for that. If it does, I might actually come back with yet another stream. Just to cover, see what's going on, see if some alts are breaking out, see if we can take some quick trades. Who knows? But for right now, I don't want to bore you because I don't have that much to say. There's not anything pumping, not anything really too crazy to watch. But later on, we're going to do some more questions and all that stuff. We're going to be coming back later with a lot of cool stuff. All right, guys, if you're not done yet, make sure you go ahead and press that like button. Just when you leave, when you leave the door, make sure you give a little one. And I'll see you guys again in another stream somewhere, probably either later today or tomorrow, because every single day. But tomorrow will be early if I do. Because I gotta head out tomorrow, do some fun stuff as well, do some activities. Because now every single day I wake up, stream, go to bed, wake up, impossible, right? Tomorrow, probably do pretty freaking early, like 10 o'clock my time, probably, maybe something like that. But let's see. All right, that was it, guys. I'll let you know later tonight what time I'm gonna stream. I'll post it in a video somewhere. All right, that's about it. See you guys later. See you guys in another one.